Kakadosh Boker Or. We're just continuing with Siman Samech Bet. This is in Hilchot Shabbat. What we're talking about now is again the clothing of Shabbat. So obviously from the Gemara and Kuf Yutet there in Shabbat, we actually learned that a person should put on their Bigdei Shabbat immediately after taking a shower. So after bathing on Erev Shabbat, that's when we're going to put on the clothing of Shabbat. Now obviously you're not going to do it too early in the day, but once it's going to be closer to Shabbat, but obviously not too late that Chas V'Shalom you're going to be Michalel Shabbat, then you're obviously obligated to come, you take a shower, and after showering, you put on the Bigdei Shabbat. Now he does come and say, okay fine, that's to do with putting it on Erev Shabbat. Until when do you have it on Mosae Shabbat? So here he actually quotes something very, very interesting. There's a lot of shitot in the Achronim that you should not take it off, obviously before Havdalah. There was actually many different proofs, whether it's from Birkat Levana and other places as well, that it was always done Birkat Levana Mosae Shabbat because you had beautiful clothing on, which was the Bigdei Shabbat. So therefore, obviously, you would be able to do it on Mosae Shabbat, and it's minimum the Havdalah. But until when? So the Yisod Shoresh Avodah brings down the name of the Rizal HaKadosh, that he wouldn't take it off until after Seudat Revi'it. And that's also brought down Rav Chaim Falache, and also the Ben Ish Chai as well. Why? Because the Neshama Yetera only leaves after the Seudat Revi'it. And therefore, if it's going to be until there, so therefore you should have your clothing on until Seudat Revi'it. There is differences of opinions, whether it's going to be the Chazon Ish and others, that if they did Seudat Revi'it immediately after Shabbat, so therefore they would actually leave their clothing on, but if they were going to do it much later on in the night, so then they weren't that makpid or not. However, though, Rav Ovadia had actually a very interesting minhag, that he would actually come and leave the clothing on, this is brought down in the name of the Tumat Hadeshen, until he went to sleep. Which means on Mosae Shabbat, the only clothing that he would have would be Bigdei Shabbat. He wouldn't come and start changing now to weekday clothing or to other clothing, right? Which that became now a very, very, very interesting minhag that they come, they change to weekday clothing, and then they make it mamash chol. It's like lavdil ben hakodesh uben hachol. So you have to go from one extreme to the other extreme. And then chas shalom bar minan, everything that you gain on Shabbat was actually wasted. But rather, what happens is that he used to keep the clothing on until when he went to go to sleep, and therefore he was still making it Mosae Shabbat until then. Why? Because that was just the concept that it's a holy time during the Mosae Shabbat, and therefore he would leave the clothing on. So again, you have the different opinions. For sure, you have to leave them on until Mosae Shabbat. There's no question. After Havdalah, again, the majority of the Achronim say that for sure you have to leave it on until Seudat Revi'it was the next one, but that's Arizal HaKadosh, Rav Chaim Falache, Ben Ish Chai, right, and others as well, right? And then you have until going to sleep, that's going to be the Trumat Hadeshen, Rav Ovadia and others, which is again very, very nice in order to understand the importance of what it is Mosae Shabbat.